Motorsport is macho. The ladies are very few and far between in the discipline. This is even more the case when one gets into the higher categories. However, here in Silverstone, there are 3 women on the list in the top category, LMP1. Present at the wheel at the Delara of Roll Centre since the beginning of the season, Vanina X already proved she had her place at this level with podium finishes in the first 2 races. The other 2 women in LMP1 are aboard the same kind of car, the Lola of Hugh Chamberlain, Spanish driver Balba Camino, and Britain's Amanda Stretton. We couldn't resist the pleasure of putting Vanina and Amanda face to face for short-fire questions. Amanda, tell me about what you do in day-to-day life.
Firstly, I'm a mother. I help run the racing team and I do TV work as well.
I do a lot of sports. I travel a lot. I enjoy my life very much. I believe I am very lucky.
Memories of your first race?
I spun a lot. It was a race here at Silverstone in a BMW 3 Series saloon car race in the wet, and I think I spun 5 times each lap.
My first race was in Zolder in '96 with a BMW Compact, and I think I finished last.
What is your dream in motorsport?
To finish Le Mans.
That is for me to know and you to find out maybe.
Your idol?
My idol, I think, is probably Tom Christensen. I think what he's done for sports car racing is exceptional.
It would be silly to say my dad, I believe, so I'd say nobody.
Who do you think is stronger in motor racing, men or women?
Undoubtedly, men are physically stronger than women. However, I think over a long-distance race, women have, I think, better stamina, so they can probably maintain a level of racing that's slightly higher than men.
Joker.
Joker for Vanina, but as for Amanda, she apparently has ambitions for this 1,000-kilometer race, during which she'll share the wheel with another woman driving a prototype for the first time.
I think it doesn't matter, no, you are women or men. If you like racing and if you like cars, and you can be in a car like that, you can lose the opportunity, no? And for me, it's very nice to drive a car like this. So I think, well, all the girls that want to do it, I think for me it's the same. I never think about women and men in driving, no. I always think it's just head things that have people, but it's not important.
In the end, man or woman, it's simply the best driver who wins. In qualifying, the Lola of Stretton and Camino could only make the slowest time in LMP1, while after having at one point made the provisional pole, Vanina X and her teammates Barbosa and Short are satisfied with 9th on the grid. During qualifying on Saturday morning, the track's extremely tricky, and there are several drivers taken by surprise. Even tried and tested Alan McNeish went for a small spin. The provisional pole changes hands on several occasions. The Zytek of the Yotta team also has the best time at one point. The big guns waited for the last minutes to go out onto the track, and very quickly Nicolas Manassian, the most British of the French drivers, rises to pole position. 6 laps are enough for him to establish the reference time.
You know, it's a result of a long walk we did yesterday in a session. Jamie, myself, and the team. You know, we work really closely. We know the car really well. So little bit by little bit, we find the very good setup for the race, and for qualifying, it's just a little bit of adjustment to do.
Once again, very lively on the track. The Japanese driver Shimoda places his Zytek on the front line, 1.752 off Manassian's time. The winners of Monza, Bouillon and Collard, make the 3rd best time in qualifying. The Audi is, as expected, a little off the pace in the difficult exercise of qualifying. Handicapped by the regulations, the car of Ortelli and McNeish inevitably has slower lap times than the hybrid protos. The Audi concedes 1.989 seconds to the author of pole, but the Oreca boys will nevertheless start from 2nd line. The season, the LMES cars will run to the gleam of headlights towards the end of the race. The lights will thus have a paramount importance in this race. They can even be strategic.
I think it can be. I mean, it could be that we'll be running, for example, in this meeting for a good half an hour, maybe 40 minutes in some darkness. And if your lights are not good and you can't see where you're going, it's going to cost a little bit of time in your lap. And you know, if it's a close finish at the end and you're fighting for position, it could be the decider for the race.
The engineers thus take very particular care in the preparation of the lighting of their cars. The nighttime practice session the day before the race was thus very significant, even if basically these headlights aren't really different from high-performance road cars.
Yeah, we've got a lot more freedom with race cars in terms of where we point the lights. Obviously road cars, there's cars coming the other way. We don't often have that instance in racing, so we can point the lights to give them the best spread of light over the edges of the circuit and all the way down the track.
To distinguish the cars, the rules oblige the GT drivers to drive with yellow headlights, while the protos use white lights. In addition, the headlights are also useful during the day to announce one's presence to the slower cars.
Each time that you press the button, you'll flash once. But what we have is we'll have 4 lights all together, and they are on all the time. And the way we've done ours is that when you press the button, 2 of them go off. And so it just has the same effect of having 2 lights flashing.
Let's stay for a moment in company of the Lola from RML, which during qualifying Saturday morning took the best time in its category and 7th best overall. What remains is to get concrete results at the end of the 1,000 kilometers, which has not yet been the case since the beginning of the season in LMES.
Very difficult indeed. I mean, it's, you know, the weather's changing now as we speak, and we experienced the track at night last night, so it was very, very dark, and there are no reflective curbs or anything like that, the things that you find at Le Mans normally. So it's going to be very, very tricky. You know, we'll see what happens. It's tricky for everyone though, so it'll be a good test for everybody.
Nice surprise on the second row with the car from William Binney Motorsport. The Lolas thus in the lead in qualifying. On the other hand, the Couragers seem to be lacking in pure speed on this track. The best placed is that of Cruise Motorsport, more than 1.5 seconds off the pole in LMP2. Just behind we find Noel Del Bello, ahead of the 2 cars of Paul Belmondo. Victorious in Monza, Voss, Gosselin and OJ start from the 5th place on the grid. On the list of innovations in GT1, the arrival of an Aston Martin DBR9. It's the first time that this beautiful English car runs in LMES. The machine's engaged by Converse, the same team running the Ferrari Maranello of Bushu, Vasiliev and Fomenko. The latter is running with the Aston here at Silverstone in the company of Darren Turner and Mark Goossens. The Aston Martin's a car which was built and developed by ProDrive, just like the Ferrari 550, the other car of the Converse team. It's thus not by chance that the Russian team is running these 2 cars.
Yeah, the reason we chose to run with the 550 was that we always would plan to have the Aston, and the design team that put the Ferrari together is the same team that put the Aston together. So there's a lot of similarities with the concept of the car. The parts, a lot of them are different, 90% are different, but the actual concept has been an evolution of the Ferrari.
Backed up by the Aston Martin, Vasiliev and Fomenko, who progressed from race to race. Solid drivers such as Bushu, Goossens and Turner. The Russian team has major ambitions for the end of the season, but especially for next year, still supported by their main sponsor.
It's very good, and we should have a bit more of a bigger team for next year. We have another car coming, so next year we're going to run 2 Aston Martins side by side.
Presensfeld, as of its track entry, the English car takes the provisional pole in GT1. Just behind, it's a crisscross battle for grid position between the Czechs of the Menx stable and the Ferraris of Scuderia BMS. The Reds running Pirelli tyres drop off the pace, and the 52 will start from 5th place right behind the sister car. In spite of his efforts and the 8 completed laps, Peter Cox doesn't manage to pass the Aston Martin DBR9 in the lead. Ferrari of the Czech team leaves, however, just behind the Aston. 4/10 of a second separate them. Once again, everyone agrees on one man in GT1. The title holder Christoph Bushu takes to the track for just 4 laps and from those 4 small laps he makes pole position.
The Ferrari is still really competitive, even compared to the Aston. But you know, you have just 2 laps and you have to one shoot, you have to push a lot, and I did a perfect lap this morning, so it's a reason why I was leading by 2/10.
The 2 machines of the Converse team thus start from the first 2 spots on the grid, but now it remains to be seen if they can score in the race. China is emerging in many fields at the moment. Motorsport is among the plans and objectives for Chinese sportsmen. Of course, teams from Hong Kong were the first to arrive on the circuits in the image of the Noble Group, Group M Racing. With their Porsche 911 GT3 RSR, they're here in Silverstone to increase their experience and especially prepare for a future engagement at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Top driver of the stable, Matthew Marsh, dreams to see a car running in the colours of China and Hong Kong in particular at the start of the most famous endurance race in the world.
An enormous amount of time that needs to be spent in educating people, because in Asia in general, in Hong Kong in particular, the understanding of Le Mans has been very small. And our first job over the last 12 months was to tell people what is sports car racing and why Le Mans is such an important event globally. And so what we've done, I suppose, is educate the people about Le Mans. We're expecting that if we go to Le Mans, there'll be a lot of people that will come from Asia, from China and Hong Kong in particular, to come and support us. And so we hope that whilst we're enjoying ourselves and achieving personal and country ambitions, we're also doing something good for Le Mans and the LMES.
Marsh appears to be very European. His teammate is purebred Asian. For the first time in his career, during which he drove in a Formula Ford and Formula Renault, Darrell O'Young this weekend discovers the Silverstone track. In Hong Kong, O'Young is starting to make a name for himself.
It hasn't been around for as many years as in Europe, you know, with all the history. So it takes time for everybody to start understanding more about the sport and learning about cars, learning about racing in general. So I think it's going to take some time for people to really get behind it, but they are getting very excited about it. Every year there's more and more happening, so everybody's learning very quickly.
There are still no Chinese supporters in the grandstands, which is a shame because they could have applauded the 7th best time taken by their compatriots in qualifying for GT2. Here again, the fight for the pole is tight. The Ferrari Modenas are up there. The Scuderia Ecos in particular. It should all the same be underlined that their cars take part in the British GT Championship. And for them, Silverstone consequently has no secrets. Kirkcaldy and Kinch take the pole position in GT2.
I think the car likes high speed. It likes high speed and heavy braking, and certainly here there's a lot of high-speed corners. So, yeah, I think it's very suited to Silverstone.
The other Medina lies for some time in the 2nd position before being pipped by 14 thousandths of a second by Mike Rockenfeller in his Porsche 996 GT3 RSR. In 4th position in GT2 qualifying, it's the TVR Tuscan of Pierce, Hines and Tomlinson. Back, we're in 1984 in Silverstone at the pinnacle of World Endurance Championships with the Lancia Porsche confrontation. It's Riccardo Patrese who takes the pole position of the 1,000 kilometers on board a Lancia. Jackie Ickx is on the front line at the wheel of a factory Porsche 956. In the early stages of the race, the Lancia LC2 holds out proudly against the fast and reliable Porsche 956s. Car number 2, Derek Bell, the late Stefan Beloff, who at the time led combined careers in Formula 1 and endurance, are lying in ambush. Meantime, at the wheel of car number 1, Mr. Le Mans Jackie Ickx running with Jochen Mass. Running third, the Lancia throws in the towel. An engine problem and oil leak. Riccardo Patrese and Bob Wallach are forced to abandon. Decidedly, the race is difficult for the Italian machines since Gabbiani and Martini are delayed by a puncture. in the pack. The running's very hot in the image of this accident between Thierry Boutsen and Jonathan Palmer, both in private 956s. At the end of the 1984 1,000 kilometers of Silverstone, Jackie Ickx, driving with Jochen Mass, takes his 55th victory in endurance. And they precede another Porsche, that of Ludwig and Pescarolo. 11 years later, another Ickx, Vanina, the daughter of Jackie, is up against Henri Pescarolo, or at least the car that bears his name. The rain makes its appearance just before the start of this third race of the season. No practice sessions were run on the wet track, and consequently all the setups have to be rethought and drivers launch out into the unknown. On the starting grid in pole position, Nicholas Manassian, whose teammate Jamie Cabell-Walter is perplexed.
I mean, obviously this is the first time it's rained all weekend, so for everyone it's a bit of a lottery. The setup, the tyre choice is going to be very difficult. Obviously we're starting on wet tyres. There are two different options. We can have a sort of soft wet tyre, which is good for the rain, or a harder wet, which is better for the drying conditions. And what we have is that it will dry up this evening as the race goes on. So we've opted for that harder wet, which might mean we're a little slower in the beginning, but you know, I'm sure we'll be able to lead from the front.
The race looks like being very difficult for everyone, and the officials judiciously decide to carry out 2 formation laps so the drivers can familiarize themselves with the soaked track. When the cars are released, it's Jean-Christophe Bouillon who takes the best start. At the end of the straight, the Pescarolo slips inside and seizes the first place. Just behind Manassian second, in third place Tom Chilton in the Zytek 04S, then the Audi of Team Oreca in the hands of Alan McNeish. The track is extremely tricky, and Shimoda is the first to be caught out. Further on, it's Bouillon who puts the foot wrong. The Pescarolo slips back from the first to the 4th position. In the same game, Manassian recaptures his rightful place from the starting grid. Just behind the Zytek of the Team Iota Opportunist, the driver benefits from the track conditions to move into an unexpected position. Conditions are not improving, far from it. And this time it's the Dome Judd that goes for a slide, hitting the Zytek of Chilton. Car number 15 is in the sand trap, immobilized for a good while, and will have to head back into the pits. Bouillon's again in trouble. This time it's more serious. The rear wing of the Pescarolo is damaged, and the car will spend 37 minutes in its box, losing any chance to mark points in this incredible race.
Oh yes, there is the wing on the rear end to change. So anyway, it's a bit long. We will see.
Things are starting to be sifted out somewhat. The specialists in the wet are in leading positions. McNeish is back in business, and Hignett is in 3rd position. In LMP2, the Lola MG of Erdos is leading. Better still, it's running 4th overall, with regular fast laps in almost zero visibility.
Going very well at the moment. Conditions are really awful out there, and Tommy's doing a fantastic job. Yeah, we're just hoping really he can stay out of trouble and, you know, just stay where he is until his next stop.
Ranking second, car number 30 of Bennett, Vergers and Barazzi. The C65 Courage Judd is apparently like a fish in water. Another Courage powered by a Ford engine, that of Vincent Vance, is 3rd in LMP2. GT1, we don't find a bi-turbo Ferrari leading as had been expected, but instead it's a Porsche 996 impeccably driven by the German specialist Marcel Thiemann and Wolfgang Kaufmann.
Driving very competitive times at the moment. The car looks very confident on the wet condition.
To find a 550 Maranello, we have to look to second place with number 67 of the Czech team Menks. And we find the new Aston Martin DBR9. With weather conditions like this, the performances are completely leveled out to such a point that in the refueling match play we find here a Porsche GT2 of Lieven Pompidou in 5th place overall, and of course leading his category. Before even 1 hour of racing is done, things are already well sorted, and Asien's still sailing in the lead at the wheel of his DBA outboard. Alan McNeish is coming up strongly and is becoming very dangerous. The gap melts away like snows in the sun, and out he finds himself up the exhaust of his rival. This very slippery track, where the visibility is virtually null, play on passing tail enders is a little like Russian roulette. Asien and McNeish are playing with fire. Finally, the French driver manages to preserve the lead. In the pits, we follow the evolution of cars with great attention, all the more so as the DBA in the lead's having some minor engine problems.
We've also got a small problem with the paddle shift on the gearbox. We're having to use the clutch and, you know, back to a manual shift, so we're losing a bit of time because of that as well. But, you know, it's a long old race. There's a long way to go, but it's really tricky conditions out there.
The Ferrari number 51 of Scuderia BMS puts her foot out of line, and the safety car is brought out onto the track. In fact, this had in any case been programmed by the race direction because the track had become impracticable. In order to avoid serious incidents, the officials prefer to neutralize the race. Things get back to normal when the Audi takes its turn to stop. In LMP2, all is well for Tommy Erdos. The Brazilian is in 3rd in general classification. An incredible performance, and of course he leads in LMP2. A little further back, the Courage Ford number 36, Vincent Voss, has yielded his place to Claude-Yves Gosselin. Easily leading in GT2, Xavier Pompidou goes off the track, and the Frenchman loses long minutes wedged in a gravel trap. Thus, it's another Porsche that takes the lead of the category, the car of Groppi, Mocchia and Rockenfeller. Mike, who's just finished his first stint.
Well, now we have a problem. I don't know why, but I mean, it's too dangerous in my opinion to be right now out there, because I think now the safety car board is out again. You can't drive because there's so much water, and I just tried to stay on the track. I did my best, and I mean, I was quite fast, but it was just too dangerous, or it is just too dangerous.
The base car finally decides to let the pack loose, but finally not for long, as this time in full re-acceleration, the Lola McLaren loses control and smashes into a wall. The car is immobilized and the safety car takes back out to the track. Follow one after the other. This time it's Amanda Stretton who damages her Lola against the pit wall. The rear cowling of the machine's right in the middle of the trajectory, and it's a miracle no one hits it.
Earlier on in my session, I got stuck behind the safety car for a long period. That was fine. Safety car went away. Safety car came back the same lap, and I got overtaken by a Porsche on the inside and hit by a Porsche, which I wasn't expecting because I'd seen the board. The flags had just come out, so maybe he hadn't seen. Who knows? But he came up the inside and hit the back of the car. So I went past the pits and we checked it, and they had a look and they said, you know, we need to change the rear body. So I came in and they changed that. But there was a vibration from the back end, which I don't think would have seen us to the end of the race. This was just, you know, maybe it was something else, I don't know. I think probably it was my fault. It is horrible, horrible conditions out there.
In LMP2, it's the Courage number 30 out in the lead, much to the joy of Phil Bennett.
The good thing about being a British driver is to deal with these conditions all the time, so it's nothing really new, I guess, for British drivers.
Okay, well, just, I mean, you're saying that, but obviously conditions are quite atrocious at the moment, nevertheless.
Yeah, but, you know, I mean, to be honest, in Europe, you know, whether it be England, Germany, France, this is the kind of conditions you have to deal with all the time, and for sure, for all these guys that have done a lot of junior racing in Britain, they will have dealt with conditions this bad before. So I think for sure there's a lot of consensus which would like to see the race stop, but you know, it's not the worst conditions we've ever seen, and as you can see now, it's not raining at all, so it's only ever going to get better.
It's now a Ferrari that takes the lead of its class. Cox, Yanis and Pergel are in the lead.
We are very happy because we have the right choice of the tires, you know, for the rain. So we saw the other teams going quite early to the pit to change the tires for some other mixture, I guess. So we didn't have to do that, and with such an experienced driver as Peter Cox is, you know, he was just steady, and it paid, you know, with the preparation.
Finally in GT2, Xavier Pompidou has yielded his place to Marc Liebe, and the small incident at the beginning of the race is forgotten since the two men have risen to the first place of the category. It's a fright for the DBA number 7. Very fortunately, this spin costs only a few seconds to Nicolas Minassian, who preserves his first place overall. Ahead of the Audi Oreca at the hands of Ortelli, who continues putting the pressure on his rival. But in the end, this spin for number 7 will be very costly. Just behind, but several laps back all the same, we now find Vanina X. Once more with her accomplice Barbosa and Short, the Belgian driver carries out a fantastic race and aims for a new podium, the third in as many races. The incidents continue. This time it's the Celine that loses a wheel and is forced to limp back to the pits on 3 wheels. A quick look at the Pescarolo and Jean-Christophe Bouillon's pushing the machine back in the pits. Even if the Pescarolo's been navigating further back in the field, it's not a fuel problem that'll cause Henri's men to throw in the towel.
Engine has stopped coming out the Abbey corner. I broke back the car to the pit with the starter, and I just have to push the car in the pit. That's it.
Lister Storm also has a problem. Jens Moller is into a gravel trap and loses the 4th place, which Sheen promised to him. The safety car takes back out onto the track. Silverstone, we'd already spoken about it. It's partly run at night for around 2 hours. When the sun starts to set, the rain finally lets off, although the asphalt remains completely flooded. It's at this time that Newton yields his place to Erdos at the wheel of the Lawler MG. It's also at this moment that the car decides to play up. Due to these problems, the Lawler will drop from 2nd to 4th position in LMP2.
When I got tapped around at Luffield, I discovered that the clutch had failed and the pedal just goes to the floor. So I had to start the car in gear then. just towards when I came in, the gear lever hydraulics had failed, and although I pulled all the breakers on the control system, it was still pulling the gear lever back the whole time. So that's why we came in, because the gear lever was permanently pulling up into a high gear. So every time I changed down, it just changed back up the gears again. Tommy obviously had to start the car now. We disengaged all the hydraulics, so the gear lever was free again. But we had to start the car in gear, and that was the problem really, that we had no clutch, so we're just trying to let the car start on the starter motor, and the good news is it did.
It's now the courage forward of OJ, Gosselin and Voss, which is leading LMP2, and they'll keep the position until the finish. There remains less than 1 hour to be run, and the Audi driven by Alan McNeice pushes its way up on the DBA of Campbell Walter, who at halfway point in the race had taken the wheel from Manassian. To the gleam of the headlights and the play of getting around tail enders, the Scot is quick to make up time. The two cars are separated by only a few seconds. Less than 1 hour from the finish at the end of the straight, Alan McNeice offers himself the first place to the detriment of Jamie Campbell-Walter, the driver of the DBA's having to put up with a clutch problem.
I don't know, I haven't seen what happened, but yeah, it's very difficult, because since the second lap of the race, Omega Line, the gearbox system doesn't work properly anymore. So it was all right when it was really wet. Now it's drying a bit. It's very difficult to, you cannot use the system properly, so it make life very hard in the car.
At DBA, one more refueling stop is needed. A flash stop to fill up and head straight back out. Different, there's a change of drivers. Stefan Ortelli is thus found in the lead on board a car with worn tyres and which he's not yet driven in the dark in the rain. Stefan needs 2 laps to get up pace, and Campbell-Walter benefits from this to catch back up. The two cars are wheel to wheel. Pit wall, there's so much tension you could cut the air with a knife. Stefan Ortelli doesn't crack under the pressure though. To the contrary, as soon as he gets the feel for the conditions, the Monegasque works on building the gap. Stefan even marks up the best lap time on the 149th of the 151 laps. McNeice, he had won the Le Mans 24-hour race in a Porsche GT1. Here the reformed duet do a fantastic job to take the victory that Team Oreca had been so much hoping for.
A few comments about this fantastic race end.
It was a superb end. Stefan drove a fantastic last couple of laps. The Oreca team, the pit stops were superb, and the Audi ran perfectly as usual. Thankfully, we're on Michelin tyres.
Hugues de Chaunac, obviously extremely happy after this event.
Yeah, extremely happy, because, you know, after our boss frustration at Le Mans 24 hours, we need absolutely to win this race. Creation team did a fantastic job, and to win with 1,000 kilometers with just 5 seconds in front, it's for the hurt is not easy.
Final statement about the entire race. It was a grueling one.
One of the hardest I've ever competed in.
It's really fantastic, and for me, I was so happy that Alan can drive the car, and now I am very happy because he has to stay in the car till the end.
Thank you. 6.569 seconds. That's the lead of the Audi at the finish line after 6 hours of racing. Of course, at creation, there's good reason to be disappointed.
You know, we did all as best as we could from start to finish. Jimmy did a great job out there. Yeah, he's always disappointed because all he wants is win races. But at least we fight it to the end. Only 5 seconds at the end. We just separate the two cars. This is racing. Sometimes you win, sometimes you finish second. Well, the first loser, but next time.
On the podium of this third race of the season, yet again, we also find Short, Barbosa and X. In LMP2, for the second consecutive time, Voss, OJ and Gosselin go to the highest step ahead of Burgess, Barazzi and Bennett, and the Lola of Erdos and Newton. Belmondo team drivers go to the top of the class in LMP2.
It was a very tough race. This is the kind of race I like to win because it was very, very difficult to stay on the track, as you see on the first half an hour, and a lot of aquaplaning. As you see, a lot of safety car also, and it was a good job from the team to stay out when the safety car was out.
In GT1, the Manx team wins its first victory of the season with Janis Pergel and Peter Cox.
In fact, this is the first ProDrive built Ferrari 550 Maranello, chassis number 1, and it's the car I shook down here for the first time when we started the program, and I raced the car with ProDrive, and we won the first race in Austria in 2001, and now I'm back in this same car, and we have a win with the Manx team. I think they did a fantastic job.
Finally in GT2, Lieb and Pompidou make another successful hold-up, as was the case in Monza.
They did a pretty good start, really aggressive for the first half an hour to be sure to overtake the maximum number of cars before the first half an hour, because I knew that with the problem of visibility behind the prototype, for example, it's going to be really, really tough to overtake. So I think exactly what I would.
In LMP1, Bouillon and Collard take the Pescarolo to the #1 position of the table. In LMP2, Voss, OJ and Gosselin lead with their Courage Ford. GT1 sees Bushu and Vasiliev leading the classification. And in GT2, Pompidou and Lieb in the Porsche 996 are now at the top of the table.